Yeah, there was days that you would comment and be like, I just can't do this.
Yeah. But look at him. He's here now. So also, what we decided to do, we're just going to kind of ping pong back and forth at each other. So this year also was a really big year for me because Steph brought me in on a project that he called me, and he always cooks up these projects, right? He's like, Naja, I met this guy. Do you know who George Santos is? And I live in New York City, and those of us New Yorkers, I've seen George's name in the headlines, but I was intentional about keeping a very comfortable distance away from politics. Mm-hmm. And that was in my own ignorance and naivete. And it was a privilege for me to not be engulfed in that world because it's triggering for me. It's triggering watching the crap on TV and seeing the stuff on our timeline. So Steph was like, there's this guy I met named George Santos, and I want to do a podcast around his redemption story. At that time, George had been ousted from Congress. Mm-hmm. And he was kind of on this redemption tour. He was facing indictment. He was facing many years on fraud and on wire fraud. And I believe it was some other charge. I can't remember. But he was facing some serious charges. Like, they wanted this dude in jail. So
they put him in jail.
They did put him in jail.
We'll get to that in a minute.
We'll get to that. So Steph calls me up and he's like, hey, I want you to kind of do a screen test with this guy. We have somebody, but Naja, I really feel like you're a shoo-in. So I ended up meeting George.
Well, let me tell the story.
Tell how it came together.
So I was executive producing a project for A&E called Lie Detector, which was we were going to strap people up and get them lie detector tests. So we had started casting George. His name came up, and we met with him, and he was a great candidate. But then the network switched to they only wanted to do big crimes, murder stories, which is obviously my forte. But that said, I had met George, and although I was familiar with his personality, I was, cautious about dealing with him. But George is charismatic, and he's a nice guy, and I liked him. And myself and my producing partner at the time both looked at each other and said, let's do a podcast with him. The podcast was supposed to be about redemption, but they were leaning more towards celebrity and high profile. They were looking for a co-host and went through a lot of big names. And I always kept saying, Naja Hall would be great. My friend Naja would be great. Naja would be great.
Have people in your life that are going to call your name in rooms that you are not even in, because he did that.
But I did call you up, and I knew it was a shit show. I knew because, and I'm going to tell you, just guys, listen to the story because it is good. I knew it was going to head in a direction I didn't want it to head in, and I wasn't going to be involved in it. What did I say to you? Because I knew I wanted it to be about redemption. Right?
Your initial vision was,
and George wanted to be Joan Rivers. So we agreed that Naja would be the great co-host, and I said, Naja, you're going to do this, but I'm going to step out of this. And the production company lost money, and George wasn't paid, but Naja flew through the storm, and she faced some really controversial guests, and I felt bad because I had stepped away because it just wasn't authentic to me. It wasn't, in my heart. But I said to you, Naja, you're going to get paid, right? And really, the show was a flop. I don't mean to be disrespectful to you.
It's okay.
Because
not everything works.
No, because it was, and the reason I brought you in, because I wanted it to be a show about redemption and moving forward, and you was to be that person because of your brand about healing and forgiveness.
That's what I do for a living.
It turned into Naja being attacked by nasty white boys on YouTube, and I was horrified. But as friends, we had this conversation. You knew what you were getting into.
Yeah.
And there were some times when you had called me and it was tough for you. Mm-hmm, and I apologize. But you know what? This is, our relationship is friendship. And we laugh and we love each other. Yeah. Like she's like a sister to me.
And we have the tough conversations. We do. And the thing is, you warned me in the beginning. He told me. He gave me a heads up. But nothing you said could have prepared me for the onslaught of what happened.
Right.
So what he's talking about with me getting attacked by the crazy white boys, there's this really popular YouTuber, and he's known as an agitator. I think he was 17 at the time, right? And he does this accent, which is not an authentic accent. And I thought he was a really nice kid. So off camera, he was actually pretty cool. We did some videos for content afterwards, but when we sat down, he started I mean, you just can't work your way around it. Just saying racist things. And the racist tropes that you typically are going to throw at a black woman that looks like me, you're going to say, she's a man. She's strong. She's hyper masculine, because those are the things that are typically thrown.
That they said about Michelle Obama.
Yeah, Serena Williams,
right.
like any,
Serena Williams.
the brown skinned girl phenotype, right? So he's 17 years old. I didn't expect him to be more complex with his test. So he did it. And so
his narrative.
It was simple. It was easy. And I hate to say this, in his defense, anytime he is faced because I do my research, anytime he has faced a woman that's besting him or that makes him feel smaller than he actually is, he does call her a man. So I can't necessarily say it was more of a race thing, more of just a patriarchy thing, because he's done it to women before. But again, this is a kid. The problem with that kid is that he has multi-millions and millions and millions of followers. Right. So he and I had this on-screen battle, by the way, which was kind of scripted, but his fans don't know that. His fans don't know that his accent is not real. Wow. They don't know that this persona he has is not real. He represents the incels. And I had to learn the hard way, Steph, what an incel is. Do you know what an incel is?
No.
Involuntarily celibate. These kids that sit in their mom's basement, or these grown men that can't get a date, or they're involuntarily celibate, meaning women don't want me, but I'm such a great guy and I deserve some hoo-ha because I'm a guy. So there's this group of angry men that this kid represents. And so these kids started swarming my social media. They doxed me. They put stuff all over, like everywhere you could think of, emailing. It was online bullying. But Miss Naja has been on the internet before it was a goddamn internet. Right.
And for me, if I can step in to see that as the person that brought you into that project. And I was telling him
about this as it was happening.
Right. But I walked away from it. It was really painful, because I was like, this is not what I wanted to do. Yeah. Because I really thought that there was an opportunity for you and George Santos to do a great podcast about redemption and moving forward. We all make mistakes. Everyone's made mistakes. Right. Owning them, and that's what it was supposed to be. So to see where it landed, and as a friend, to see you, I don't want to say suffer, but to see you have to deal with this, I felt responsible. I did. I felt responsible.
You are not responsible for all of the angry white men of the world. And I'll say this: it was not only just young or older white men that were attacking me. It was white adjacent, meaning there were some black kids that assimilated to whiteness. There's Latina kids. So I was like, oh, this is a male thing. There was not one woman that I ever saw. And y'all listen, when Miss Naja has time, I'll go to your pages. And so there's one guy. Even the troll pages, because on the dark web, I have like an extra IP address. Like, y'all know what we do. So I can find you easily. And one day I was bored, and this one guy, I hit him up and I found his mother. And I sent his mom a screenshot. I was like, hey, do you know your son is saying this about women online? And he reached out to me. You didn't have to text my mom. And I was like, I didn't have to, but you didn't have to say what you said. Right. I don't have the time to hold every troll accountable. But what that taught me was a grand lesson. And it's something that we're seeing happening right now in the world. The white male victimhood, and so quick to attack somebody that's different. If
I can jump in, we are in Trump era. So that anger has been unleashed, and it's become an unfortunately acceptable part of society. So the timing was just so bad for this whole thing. It's like, and I'm sorry. Public apology.
When I was telling stuff about this, it wasn't for you to, when I was calling you, like, oh my God, because there's a part of me that understands human nature. What I do in real life is I study human nature and I predict human behavioral patterns. So these attacks, they weren't shit to me. I eat that like cupcakes. But I was like, oh, this is a great case study. And now what we see happening, J.D. Vance just made the announcement the other day, and I can't remember verbatim, but he said, if you are a white male that's basically felt the pangs or you've suffered because of DEI, then I have something for you. God. What I realized is a trick, though. And I, too, am building something for the white male Americans. I'm going to do that, and I'm announcing it here first. So J.D. Vance and those of the like want you to think that you are a victim. And the best way for someone to get you to join their cult or their group is to make you think you're sick or to make you think that you are a victim of something. And in this case, white males, they are tricking you into thinking that you are a victim of the immigrants, of the blacks, of the Mexicans, of the people that should have what's rightfully yours.
The trans community.
The trans community.
Right.
And they've also lodged this PR campaign that if you're a white male, then you are a victim. Guys, we've all been hurt, but one thing I learned is no one's coming to save us. Because has Vance announced his run for presidency yet? I haven't been keeping up with that. If he hasn't, that's probably coming like before we'll get this video out. But he's trying to rally the troops. What the system did, and I feel really bad for the white guys, it convinced white guys that they are at the top of the totem pole. You are the most deserving. You are superior. They fed this false notion of white supremacy and superiority. Right. So now when you face another person that might be better than you or more qualified than you at something, you feel this innate wrong. You feel like somebody's wronged you, but they led you astray anyway. Nobody's better than anybody. We're all the same. We're all capable. There's some of us that there's just a majority of numbers, and then that's why we can look superior. They're showing you what white male mediocrity looks like right now in the highest office in the land. And I don't want you to get tricked and fooled and get called to run again, to run at the top of your mic on January 6th, or go blow some stuff up, or cause you and your family harm. Because remember this, I work in my real life. People let me, Steph, into the most intimate parts of their lives. They let me into their families. I serve white clients, black clients, Asian, Latino, basically if you speak English, these are the clients that I serve. And one thing I realize is crazy ain't got a color. Because I know all of y'all, you let me into the intimate spaces of your lives. But I see what's happening with the victimhood. The same thing happened with black guys a few years ago. Black guys, you're the biggest victim. And if you white fellas want to go the same way that we saw happen with black guys, they're trying to control you and herd you. And they might suppress this, what I'm saying, but if you don't see that you're being herded into a cult of like-minded adult and child incels, that's one of my missions this year. We can move on, Steph.
Just to wrap this up, the biggest thing for me was to make sure you were okay. You know, right? I was like, because I had stepped away. Because I knew, I'll be honest with you, I saw what the production company was doing, and I saw in the direction they were going, but I also knew, and I don't want to get into financials, but what your deal was, and I was like, Naja, you're set. You're going to get what you were told you were going to get, but this is going to be tough. But I walked away because I knew I wasn't. It wasn't your initial vision. No, it wasn't. It wasn't like it became a shit show, like of clicks and clickbait, like that's what they were trying to do. So, anyways,
and George ended up getting sentenced to 87 months
and went to prison.
And he went to prison for less than 90 days. And Trump commuted his sentence. So everybody got a happy ending. And George and I are still friends. I know that's an unpopular thing to say, I guess, but I got a chance to see his humanity. We got the same birthday, if that says anything. But I got a chance to see this guy's humanity.
Right, like I liked him. Like
he's a very likable person.
He's a likable person. The most interesting thing he said to me, and I understood this, was that, and I think it's important for everybody to understand this, what George did was something that he learned from the broken political system, and what he did was the tip of the iceberg. Okay, I think they used people's credit cards and charged them, but why did he do that? Because he was in an environment that said, this is okay, you can do this.
But you don't get caught, because if you get caught, we're going to abandon you and we're going to blame you.
Right.
And we see it happening with a lot of figures. I think what George did, because he is a person of color, he turned this system that allowed him... Still, you're so shady. He turned this system that allowed him in by the skin of his teeth. He turned it on this underbelly and he showed all the flaws, and it pissed him off. George showed that the system is whack and broken. George was able to lie on his resume and then get a position in Congress. He was able to schmooze. Congress.
Right. Like, that's a really interesting point. Like, let's look at that.
He embarrassed the system. So that's why they wanted to stick it to him. But
and that's why they let him, that's why Trump let him out of prison because they know George knows where the bodies were buried. One thing I knew about George, and this is what he told me, no one else knows this. He went to everybody and befriended them and knew their dirt.
And he
knew
still
where the
has-
bodies were buried, knows their dirty secrets. So hands were tied that they needed to let him out of prison or George was going to talk. And he was going to talk about everybody. And he knew, and he's a wild card, right? When you're, it's like a tiger. When your back's into the corner, what are you going to do? You're going to strike. So
He didn't snitch,
they knew
though.
that was coming.
He said, you know what? He took his sentence on the chin. They told that man 87 months for wire fraud. When we've seen the felon that's sitting in office in the highest office in the land that hasn't done a day. So he took it on the chin. He went and sat and did his time. And brace his lucky stars. He's out right now. And hopefully.
And he should still talk. If he had balls, he's out. Trump let him out. Now talk.
George
Tells
is
the
smart.
dirt.
George is brilliant.
No, he's not.
He's smart. George is one of the most brilliant motherfuckers that I have worked with. And I say brilliant, that means in
What about
people
me?
skills. I'm one of them. And I say just people skills because George is charismatic. And the people that came in through that podcast, like I interviewed my first billionaire because of George. George still has these relationships, even though he did what he did. Me and Isaiah Washington, of all people, have become friends.
Right.
Yeah, so I met some people and I now have some access in rooms that I did not have before. And he willingly and freely opened that door for me.
Okay.
And has not closed it. So I'm like, and hey, George, he the homie. He the homie for me. And I know a lot of people hate that. A lot of people were looking at me like, why the fuck are you sitting with him? I'm a studier of human behavior.
I like George.
And I needed to understand how this man's mind works. I would interview Donald Trump. It wouldn't go like what y'all see. I wouldn't be piggy. I wouldn't be too many goddamn piggies. But I would sit with Trump because I need to understand before the dementia takes his brain how his mind works. Ready to move on, Steph?
Yeah, this is a real good time to move on.
So, Steph, this year you executive produced on A&E's Lie Detector.
Right, which, circling back around, that is where this all began. We were looking for celebrities or big name people to strap up for a lie detector test. Going through the list, my producers had pulled George, and we interviewed him, and that's where I met him, and I loved him. And then the network just went in a different direction, which was we wanted to just do big murder cases. But when I had met George, I was like, hey, there's something charismatic about this guy. I'm an executive producer. I'm here to, create talent. And, that's where we
And you've been doing investigative journalism at this point for how many years?
Well, I'm going to date myself.
That's okay. How many years?
It's been over 20 years.
Over 20 years.
Yeah, I'm almost 25 years out. I've been
so almost as long as I've been alive.
I've been, an investigative journalist, which has allowed me some incredible opportunities, which we're not going to get into today. But